This was to ensure that meetings are compliant with the rights and no law during the state of emergency. As chair of the Sanborn Regional School Board, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12 pursuant to executive order 2020-04, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there's no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I'm confirming that we are A, providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. We are utilizing Zoom for this electronic meeting. All members of the Sanborn Regional School Board have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through this platform. And the public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in this meeting through dialing the following phone number: 1-646-558-8656. The meeting ID is 956-1378-3544, or by clicking on the meeting website address, which is provided at the SAU17.net website. Just click on upcoming meeting links. B, providing public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the meeting, including how to access the meeting using Zoom or telephonically. Instructions have also been provided on the website of the Sanborn Regional School District at www.sau17.net. C, providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there is a problem with access. If anybody has a problem, please call 978-482-7394 or email helpdesk@sau17.net. If anyone has any public comment, please email the superintendent, tambrose@sau17.net. It's t.ambrose, I think, right?
No.
No dot?
T. Ambrose.
Okay, tambrose@sau17.net. D, adjourning the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. In the event that public is unable to access the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance when each member states their presence. Please also state whether there's anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. So starting with Tammy.
Tammy Mahoney. I'm in an office in my house. There's no one.
Dawn.
Dawn Dutton. I am in my house and there is no one in the room with me.
Jamie.
Jamie Fitzpatrick. I'm in my home office. I'm alone.
Jake.
Jake Tedford. I'm in my room alone.
Pam.
Pam Brown. I'm home by myself.
Okay. And Pete.
Yeah, I'm at home. I'm in my dining room. My wife can hear this.
I just want to take a moment to introduce Jake Tedford. He's the new student council representative to the school board. And for this coming year, Jake, maybe you could tell us a little bit about yourself. Just take briefly.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah, okay. Jake, we're going to have to do a redo, Jake. We're having troubles with the audio, with your audio. Can you hear me? Okay. So let's get, we're moving on to the minutes. We want to thank you. Thank you for joining us, Jake. We're going to have to move on because we can't hear you right now.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Hey, Jim,
Yeah.
I'm on with Larry. He said he can't get on at all.
Oh, okay.
I was already working on that. Gordon's calling him right now.
Gordon is calling you right now.
Yeah, I'm trying to use my wife's phone, but she has no service, so I'm working on it.
Okay.
All right.
Pledge of
Tammy,
Allegiance.
you had your hand up?
We didn't do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, sorry. Thank
Thank
you
you,
very
Tammy.
much. I pledge allegiance
Flag,
to the flag
America.
of the States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Tammy. Okay, so we're going to move on to action on the minutes. Can I get a motion on the minutes?
Move to
So
approve.
moved.
Second? Dawn, did you second?
Yes.
I did.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion or comments? Okay. So roll call vote, all in favor of approving the minutes. Tammy,
Yes.
Dawn,
Yes.
where are you? Jamie,
Aye.
Pam,
Aye.
Pete,
Yeah,
is Larry still on the phone with you or?
no, I got off the phone, but
Okay,
so that Gordon could talk to him.
okay. Okay, so the next item is distribution of manifest documents. Matt, have those, do you have the signatures you need for that?
I have to check for the AP list.
Okay,
Last time I checked, I needed just one or two,
okay,
but I know some more have come in.
okay.
Yeah, I'll hit it tomorrow. I haven't got a chance to do it yet.
And nominations, Tom.
I have for the middle school, Stacy Worcester for special education coordinator, and for the high school, Julia Ryan for media specialist.
Okay, so we need a motion to approve
Move to
those.
approve.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion, comments, questions? Okay, all in favor? Tammy,
Yes.
Dawn,
Yes.
Jamie,
Aye.
Pam,
Aye.
Pete,
Aye,
and I myself, and I'm I on the minutes as well. I don't think I didn't vote on that one. Okay. How about resignations, Tom?
No resignations.
Okay, superintendent's report.
All right. So this evening, I wanted to give you an update on everything that's happening in the district. So this is, as usual, a little bit longer than normal when we're in person. Remote learning ended for all students K-12 on Tuesday, June 2nd. At the Memorial School, at the conclusion of remote learning, they're proud to report that just over 97% of students consistently engaged in remote learning assignments and provided sufficient evidence of engagement in learning to close out the 2019-2020 school year. Memorial School administration, guidance, and staff were in constant communication with 100% of families during this time to ensure the health, safety, and well-being of all enrolled students. On Tuesday, June 2nd, 98% of all families drove to the Memorial School to pick up student belongings and drop off Chromebooks, chargers, and library books. They essentially had a parade where people just drove up in their cars, grabbed their things, and left. There were many smiles, a few happy tears, and for a few brief moments, a sense of normalcy during a very difficult time. On Wednesday, June 3rd, the Memorial staff, in addition to the Newton Police and Fire Departments, gathered to celebrate the 5th grade students in a drive-through event with social distancing. It was a wonderful and happy celebration for all. And Memorial wanted me to mention that they thank everyone who helped make the 5th grade students feel special for their accomplishments at this important transition point during their educational journey. We also need to mention the many efforts of the PTO at Memorial to support the staff and students, especially those in the 5th grade. Mr. McCluskey wanted me to say thank you very much. Lastly, the Memorial staff continue to pack the majority of the building and will be ready for the June 8th moving date. Thank you to everyone, especially our custodial staff, for their many efforts to make the move possible. And I would also like to add, Mr. Angel has been absolutely essential in this process. He's done a fantastic job with Mr. Riley and all of the custodians. The Bakey School is happy to report that we averaged just over 96% attendance and engagement throughout remote learning. I know that it's because I keep using numbers like 96%. I just want to make sure the public understands that is amazing. That students logged on when they were supposed to, engaged with teachers 96% of the time. throughout this experience is just shows how hard teachers are working to make sure that they connect with students when they need to. The collection of school items and distribution of student belongings on June 2nd was well organized and attended. On Wednesday, June 3rd, all 5th grade students were honored with a unique drive-through celebration with social distancing, and all 3rd and 4th grade students were recognized one last time before moving on to the Memorial School next fall. Our whole staff would like to thank the Kingston Police and Fire Departments and the school resource officer, Dan Doyle, for their assistance with the reverse car parade celebrations. We could not have handled the volume of cars or made nearly as much noise without your help. Finally, Bakey School wishes Mrs. Robin Baker all the best as she retires from Sanborn Regional School District after 31 years of service leading our pre-K program. Miss Robin is well loved by many and was truly on display during a special retirement car parade on Tuesday, June 2nd. So many families took the time to come and express their thanks to Robin. And true to form, Robin was able to greet each student and their families by name as they drove through. That's pretty impressive. And Bakey will miss you, Robin, and we wish you well or the best in your retirement. At the high school, now that remote learning has ended, the guidance department is working with teachers to finalize grades and develop plans for students who either did not successfully complete courses or need additional time as a result of the hardships placed on them from the pandemic. It's too early to have data to report to the board, but that will be coming at the next meeting. This Friday, the school will host its 131st graduation ceremony. Although it will look a little different than past events, it will certainly be a day to remember, with a few surprises thrown in for good measure. Important information on the ceremony, which starts at 4 p.m. on Friday, June 5th, is available on the school website. The school is also working with the First Congregational Church in Kingston on a virtual baccalaureate ceremony, which will be broadcast live Thursday evening at 7 p.m. The link to watch this, as well as the graduation, is available on the school's website. Last Thursday, seniors came to the school to settle their financial obligations and pick up their caps and gowns, awards and plaques, scholarships, and any other personal belongings. They were excited to leave with a gift wrap box with all of these items. And next Monday, students in grades 9 through 11 will be permitted on campus to pick up their belongings. More information on how to sign up for an appointment for that event is available on the school's website and in the daily newsletter. The middle school wants to thank all of the students, teachers, staff, parents, and family for such tremendous ongoing support and dedication to the Sanborn Regional Middle School community during this incredibly challenging time for us all. When we look back, we'll remember the life-changing difficulty of dealing with a nationwide pandemic, but more importantly, we'll remember how we all came together to ride out the storm. Grade 8 celebration took place on June 1st as a reverse parade where social distancing was practiced, yet all students could be recognized and celebrated for their achievements. The festivities were attended by the majority of our 8th grade families, as well as 99% of the staff. We'd like to thank the middle school boosters for providing each 8th grader with a beautiful beach towel to mark the occasion. For those of you who don't know what a reverse parade is, it's when the people who, the students are driving through in their car and the staff are standing, whereas a regular parade would be the staff would drive by in their car and the students would be outside. The collection of school items and distribution of student belongings for the middle school for grades 6th and 7th on June 3rd was well organized and well attended by the staff. In closing, we want to congratulate the 8th grade class of 2020. Their flexibility and adaptability in light of their world being turned upside down is to be applauded. Although the celebration looked a bit different this year, it was a day that will be remembered. In the curriculum and assessment department, we have brought another year successfully to a close, and we are now shifting focus to a very busy summer filled with professional development opportunities, summer renewal activities, and planning for our return to school in the fall. Due to the ongoing pandemic, many of the activities and PD offerings this summer are up in the air. Many of them will be done remotely, and we hope to have answers as we move through June about those events this summer. And of course, we will be keeping an eye on the start of school and what that will probably look like. Special education department is wrapping up the annual IEP meetings, given the governor's recent executive order, Emergency Order 48. With guidance relative to special education, the department is working in collaboration with other districts and state officials to determine appropriate next steps. The order provides guidance on evaluations, extended school year, and compensatory education. The Sanborn Regional School District has a few ESY meetings scheduled in the next week to discuss potential ESY services for students that typically are not found eligible for ESY. And staff have been secured for ESY, which again is the extended school year. And the department is working on getting a final count on student participation. Some families are opting out of the extended school year services this year as they feel their children need a break from technology, while others who generally do not participate are interested in having their children attend remotely. We're still waiting to hear back from some families who are undecided. With our one nomination tonight, Mrs. Gutterman wanted me to mention that she's very pleased to announce that the special ed department is fully staffed, minus one new position for the fall, with special education teachers and coordinators. So that's really amazing at this time of the year to be fully staffed. She's in the midst of looking to hire a reading specialist for the department, and there are a few applicants, so she's kind of hanging on before she starts the interview process. The Human Resources Department wanted me to mention that they're in the middle of their busy season. Open enrollment is in full force. Contracts are being signed and returned. Professional development requests are being finalized. New employees, resigning employees, retirees are all being processed, and staff certifications are being updated, including yours truly, which I got the confirmation today. Although we are still in the process of ending the school year, the Human Resource Department is also in the midst of starting the new school year on July 1st. I did want to mention that a wonderful resident from Kingston, Karen Griffin, who's a former graduate of Sanborn, and her two daughters are wanted to recognize our graduates. So they're making candy lays to put on graduates' lawn signs. They're trying to do all of them, but they're doing as many as possible. And I just wanted to recognize them for taking the time to do that. That's really nice of them. The last thing that I wanted to mention to everyone this evening is that we are working to create a some post-COVID-19 work groups for the district. So I had a meeting with some parents last week, and I have been talking with Patty, Dr. Haynes, and Mr. Angel, and the layout or format for the post-COVID-19 work groups is set up so that we have a nice group of individuals from all different areas that will contribute to helping us to plan for what school will look like in the fall. So just in summary, where we're at right now is it's just forming, and there'll be more information at the next board meeting. But we have a teacher from every grade level, school psychologists, school counselors, the principals from each building, Dr. Haynes, myself, Mr. Angel, and Ms. Gutterman will all be on the groups. I asked Mr. Fitzpatrick if he would help out with grades K through 6 because he has a child at that level. And I asked Mrs. Dutton to help us out. So if any other board members are interested in being on one of those work groups, there'll be a pre-K 6 and a 7 through 12 work group. There are also about 7 parents per group. Did I get that right, Dr. Haynes?
Yes, that takes care of everybody who's on there. Yep, they're big groups.
Yeah, what the group is going to do, the groups will work to talk about all the different parameters, issues, and variables that are coming up through all the different lenses, with a understanding that any step has to be approved by the board. So the whole board will be involved because we'll have to present to you what we're thinking, and we may need an extra meeting in July or early August to discuss this. So I just want everyone to know that I don't expect this to be a quote normal summer. I may need policy committee meetings, I may need finance committee meetings, and I may need meetings with the school board to discuss the potential plans for the fall. And before I close the superintendent's report this evening, this might be the marathon of all time here. I think I broke Brian Stack's shortest school board meeting record just with my update. I just want to take a minute with the board present to acknowledge Heidi Levitt. Heidi has gone above and beyond the call of duty in a way that there really is no way to recognize the many, many, many hours that Heidi Levitt has put in to the social and emotional and, frankly, getting food to people who need food this summer. Heidi has been delivering lunches personally, coordinating the lunch program, coordinating a food pantry, coordinating the guidance department, coordinating parent groups with guidance, plus doing the master schedule at the high school and working with the school psychologists to help get them to offer supports to our families. So I asked Mr. Stack to have Heidi be on the call tonight so that I could publicly acknowledge her for her tremendous efforts, bringing donuts to staff that are serving lunches. That's just off the top of my head. I didn't make a list. I mean, it's just phenomenal. So Heidi, number one, you don't have to stay on the meeting any longer, because I know that you wanted to go, but no, I wanted you to know that we thank you, right? I wanted to sincerely thank you. And so I think Mr. Stack had something he wanted to add.
Gordon, can you unmute Brian?
I know I was trying. I was waiting for Master Gordon. No, Tom, you did a great job. She tell you how incredibly helpful Heidi has been for our organization and the high school. I quite literally, every other email I send starts with, let me add Mrs. Levitt to this. She's going to know how to respond. And this is on top of, like, this is her busy season. Quite honestly, trying to close out all of our grades, get ready for graduation, deal with all the awards ceremonies, help set up summer school, build the master schedule. She's done all that in addition to. It's been amazing.
Thank you. I have an
Applause.
amazing team, so it makes it easier. Everything that I do, I have an amazing team. So
Okay, Heidi.
for the recognition. It's been quite a ride.
Great job, Heidi. Thank you so much. We're so happy to have you be a part of our team. And I wanted to just take a moment to publicly acknowledge you for all of your truly heartfelt hard work. Even when you say to us, no, you can't do that, it's not safe. You listen.
Oh, when I start yelling FERPA police.
Yeah,
The FERPA police, the COVID police. She's the
COVID
everything.
police.
Sometimes we don't invite her to meetings because we know she's going to be the no person.
I don't do that. Brian does that. I invite her to everything.
Well, thank you again for the recognition. And it's, I mean, like I said, it's been an amazing team effort. So anything I do is not by myself. It's with who can I pull in to help me out with this? And I just happen to be the person who's got my name attached to it. So.
Well, thanks again, Heidi. Have a wonderful evening.
You're welcome. I'm off to bake some cake.
Yeah, you can say some but you don't have to.
All righty. Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Thank you.
Okay, committee reports, starting with policy. I know policy met today. Pam, do you have anything else to report? Or?
Yeah, we met tonight and our superintendent was there, business administrator, Tammy, Dawn, and I, and we discussed 2 policies you'll look at later on the agenda. And we'll also be reviewing some K policies over the summer. That would be Section K, School and Community Relations. That's kind of a mixed bag of many different types of policies, everything from facilities use to advisory committees. So we will be touching base with some of the other subcommittees about some of these policies and hopefully present those first thing in the fall. Our next meeting is September 2nd or earlier at 5 p.m.
Okay, thank you, Pam. Isa, Tammy.
ISA, our next meeting is 2 weeks from today, June 17th. Scheduled for 5 o'clock. I don't know, did we change that time?
I think we're going to do 4:45 just to give everyone a little quick run to the restroom in between.
Okay, so 4:45. Thank you.
Okay. Facilities Committee met on Wednesday, May 20th at 4 p.m. The attendees were Jamie Fitzpatrick, Larry Heath, Matt Angel, Tom Ambrose, and Jim Baker. We reviewed and approved the minutes of Wednesday, May 6th, and we reviewed the revolving fund balances as of April 30th. The combined balances of the funds were $680,724.45. There'll be additional monies added from the warrant articles 9 and 10, I believe, of $125,000 in the coming fiscal year. And there's also money that will be added from the middle school lease over the next 12 months. Jamie Fitzpatrick questioned return building rental fees, and Matt explained that they're refunds for rentals that had to be canceled during the COVID-19 pandemic. We reviewed the budget reports as of April 30th. The total expenses, including health and dental, were $25,746,561.50. The total encumbered was $7,342,989. $342,989.20. The unexpended balance was $1,936,104.58. We also reviewed revenues, including Fremont's tuition and some smaller amounts due by the end of this fiscal year. Matt Angel provided a middle school transition update. The new middle school office is only waiting for the ballistic window and countertop for the receptionist. The middle school has been moved from the old building to the new space at the high school. The old middle school building is almost completely empty and ready for the new tenant to move in. The contract for the bathroom renovations has been signed and construction will begin soon. The committee discussed parking lot signage. The plan is to update and add signs at each of the buildings for parking lot flow. Matt Angel explained that there's some difficulty getting information from vendors right now. Jim Baker questioned about how the district is finding sign vendors. And Matt explained that he's been calling around to all local vendors and is having difficulty getting calls returned. Larry Heath recommended contacting Pete Broderick for a contract for Salem Sign. And Matt advised the committee that he's tried contacting Salem Sign, Justice Sign, and New England Barricade. Matt will continue working on this. The committee discussed the status of paving at the high school parking lot to reconfigure the parent pickup loop. Matt Angel has one quote and is reaching out for others. The paving will only be for areas of parking lot at the high school that are changing. There'll also be seal coating at other areas, which will be determined once Matt receives costs. The committee discussed plans for room 126, which has been used for book storage. Matt Angel reported the size of the room needs to be reduced, and Matt plans to put in a storage area to take care of that. Also, instead of putting in a window, the current plan is to put in double doors with windows, which will cost less. The high school plans to use the space as a maker space for large special cross-curricular projects. Jim Baker questioned what space the high school is currently using for the program. And Tom Ambrose explained that many areas of the high school are being used, including hallways, the cafeteria, and pieces of other classrooms. Jamie Fitzpatrick felt that this room had explained in the past as a space looking for a purpose. Matt and Tom explained that some of the other suggestions made in the past were based on size of the room and codes that needed to be adhered to, while taking into account the cost of changes that would need to be made so that it could be used as a classroom. The high school has long wanted to use it as a place for makerspace program. Jamie Fitzpatrick asked about the estimated cost. Matt estimated the cost to be approximately $10,000 for the door, plus labor to make the ceiling and HVAC adjustments. There was no public comment, and the meeting adjourned at 4:41 p.m. Okay, finance.
The Finance Committee met just before this meeting today, earlier. I'll have the official report outs at the next school board meeting, but for this meeting, I would simply note a few of them. The school board or the Finance Committee reviewed and recommends to the school board the approval of the funding of the accounting program that will be coming before the board tonight through the use of the facility use revolving fund. We also had a motion to proceed with the purchase of about 185 computers of the 30 model without the service contract that would be coming out of, and I don't know the exact wording of the motion, but basically that it would be they would hit next year. It would be show up next year and hit next year. And then there was some discussion on the warrant articles, just for clarification. The warrant articles were written such that the funding would come from the unexpended funds as of June 30, 2020, this year's budget, and would be posted into the reserves on 7/1. So those are the three big ones that I can remember. Then I'll get the regular minutes out afterwards.
Hey, Larry, I noticed Larry Heath is here. Larry, did you have a public relations meeting since
No,
the last
we have not had one since before the last meeting.
Okay. And personnel, Dawn.
We have not had one since the last one.
Okay, thank you.
Last week or last. last meeting.
Jamie?
Just point of order for Larry. He really needs to announce whether he's got somebody with him or not.
Yeah, check in, Larry. Larry, we need
Yes,
your
this is
name.
Larry Heath. I'm in my basement, in my office. There's nobody here but me.
I figured that, but just for point.
Yep.
Thanks.
I had to move to my basement too. It was started pouring outside. I had to, that's why I stepped off for a second. Sorry.
It's all right. So anything from SST or wellness? No meetings since the last time. Okay. So we have our new student council rep, but I'm not sure whether we can hear him or not. Jake, do you have a report to give us, or?
Mike's off.
There you go.
I currently really done for the upcoming school year. Can you hear me?
We're still having audio problems with you, Jake.
Jake, if you want to email it to me, I can read it for you, or Mr. Stack.
We can't hear you at all, Jake. So we'll look forward to next time.
He said we currently haven't done anything for the upcoming year, so he's good. He just
okay.
And I also just wanted to mention that Mr. Stack just wanted to clarify that the room is the room at the high school for the work that you were talking about, Mr. Baker.
The makerspace.
124, not 126, just for the public.
Oh, number 124. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. So new business, school board goals. I'd like to start this off by Pam reading the school board of self-evaluation that we approved at the last meeting, because I think that's relevant to the discussion of goals.
Yeah, so 3 annual goals were adopted on June 12th of 2019 for this past year, and 90% of those goals were achieved. The first one was to reconfigure grades pre-K to 6 and move grades 7 and 8 to the high school. Goal 1 was met following extensive organizational planning and collaboration between the district employees, superintendent, and administrators, and thanks to facilities planning by the business manager and the facility subcommittee. Qualified contractors were hired to complete modifications to the high school to accommodate grades 7 and 8, and reorganization should be complete for the start of the 2020-21 school year, as we've been told. The board should remain cognizant of stressors arising from the challenge of reorganization and help ensure that parents, students, employees, and community members are both heard and supported during this transition. Our second goal, formulate a task force for facilities to expedite the elimination of unwanted excess properties and buildings, specifically the middle school and the old high school campus. Goal 2 was met, hallelujah, following multi-year work by the Seminary Task Force, which studied options available for the Sanborn Seminary property. Input was received from numerous stakeholders, including the Kingston Heritage Commission, the Sanborn Seminary trustees, Kingston selectmen, and town residents. Envision Kingston 2 and NESDEC reports were reviewed extensively in planning and discussions. District Warrant Article 6, sale of seminary property, was drafted and approved by voters during the March 10, 2020 town elections. A sale agreement has been signed with Chinbird Properties, a property developer specializing in the restoration of historic buildings. Options for lease of the Sanborn Regional Middle School were also successfully explored during the year. District Warrant Article 7, lease of the Sanborn Seminary, a Sanborn Regional Middle School, was passed by voters on March 10th of 2020, and a lease agreement for the middle school has been signed with the Seacoast Learning Collaborative for $140,000 a year, plus utilities and other expenses. And our last goal 3, complete the 2018-19 goal 3, mapping of outcomes and explore report card options, was partially met. 90% of our graduates continue to meet or surpass the indicators listed in our career and college readiness framework. In addition, this year, the Excellence in Student Achievement Committee and the Director of Teaching and Learning successfully completed surveys and a year-long study to identify essential lifelong learning and social skills expected of graduates. These non-academic traits are now displayed in the Portrait of a Graduate framework approved by the board in early 2020. A plan to reform the district's math program has also been forwarded to the EISA, with specific improvements to be introduced to the mathematics curriculum in the fall. About two-thirds of the savings from reorganization, goal 1, will be reallocated to an early intervention program to increase literacy and math skills. The remainder will be returned to the taxpayers. Due to the coronavirus pandemic and the emergency shift to remote learning by New Hampshire school districts, work on mapping outcomes to program expenditures and report card revisions was interrupted. District time and effort was absorbed by moving staff and students to remote learning and engineering changes to maintain delivery of services. So we'll continue with those goals hopefully in the coming year. Other completed items include an administrator collective bargaining agreement approved by voters in March, new regular education and capital reserve funds approved by voters in March, and before and after school enrichment and summer activities revolving fund approved by voters in March of 2020. Continued work by the policy committee updating the district's manual will continue next year and was also done this past year. So we basically, thanks to the ongoing tireless efforts of our superintendent and leadership, we've accomplished most of our goals. And I'm sure by this time, given the amount of work the superintendent's put in, he's been winnowed down to the minimum wage per hour at this point. But I just want to thank him for all his work.
Thank you, Pam. But it's a team effort. I'm grateful for everyone. Thank you, everyone, for all.
You have a lot to be proud of. Thank you.
Yeah, everyone, right? It's the board being a team. It's the administrative team being a team, and everyone working together has made this happen. And we certainly capitalize on opportunities when they present themselves to us. And I'm very grateful for the willingness of the board to trust us in doing the absolute best we can. And we still have a long way to go, but we're making strides. So thank you. And I'm trying to keep my cat off the keyboard. So I'm sorry that she made a surprise. She doesn't know why I'm downstairs.
If you disappear, we'll blame it on the cat.
Yes.
So picking up from, thank you, Pam. Picking up from that, where we left off, goal 3 is still incompleted, and it's a very complicated goal. Goal 3 was mapping curriculum outcomes and exploring report card options. And understandably, from dealing with the COVID-19 situation, that it greatly impacted and interfered with that. So I put together a suggestion of 3 goals, dividing goal 3, what's left to do that, into 2 goals, because there is so much there. But before I get into that, I want to know if anybody else has any goals that they'd like to offer up for suggestions as well, and go through them, and maybe we can merge things or go from there. If I could see a hand, if anybody has anything they want to start with. Jamie.
Yeah, I'll just, we had talked about just conceptually some goals for finance subcommittee, but we'd want to make sure that that's dovetailing with whatever the school board goals are. So I would defer and see what you have. Tom and I talked a bit about just overall goals also, but I'll defer it to you at this time.
All right. Anybody else? Pam.
Well, our current strategic plan will expire this coming year. So in fall of 2021, we'll need a new strategic plan drafted.
Okay. All right. So those are in line with what I've come up with. From goal 3, what we've accomplished is the excellence in student achievement criteria, the definition of student success, and a portrait of a graduate identified academic and essential lifelong learning and social skills expected of graduates. And the school board adopted them. What remains from goal 3 are curriculum improvements in English and substantial improvements in math. along with work on mapping outcomes and program expenditures. Also important, completing and implementing report card revisions. So I'd like to break down last year's goal 3, which I said was huge, into 2 goals. The academic portion, goal 1, would be to establish a timeline, plan, and mapping to begin the implementation of math and reading programs. And goal 2 would be choose a new grade reporting system, including a new report card for implementation in the fall of 2021. So that is the leftovers from goal 3. And then goal 3, I would like to create a 5-year strategic plan. And then I can go through each of these and kind of give you my reasoning behind them. Goal 1, establish a timeline plan and mapping to begin the implementation of math and reading programs. That should become part of the strategic plan as well, and should include the following elements. A timeline and plan for adopting improved curriculum in math and reading. B, explanation of key program parameters. C, staffing needs and readiness. D, define a clear program review process to identify the effectiveness of areas of improvement once the program is implemented. E, the following must be included in the plan: the curriculum scope and sequence, instructional, professional development and support for staff, clearly defined assessment goals and outcomes for internal and external assessments, and lastly, a plan for intervention when students do not meet the expectations. And for goal 2, choosing a new reporting system, including a new report card for implementation in the fall of 2021. As we know, this is about improved communication and parents being able to understand how their kids are doing in subjects. It's in progress, but it's not yet complete. And then number 3, the strategic plan. This should include the curriculum, the staffing, financing, the facilities, and the idea is to have it be a vision for the next 5 years. So if we can discuss that further, if you would like, we can either start with a motion or discuss it and come up with a motion. Why don't we discuss it and come up with a motion? Jamie?
Similar to some of the thoughts that I had, strategic plan, as Pam had mentioned, was on my list also. We've been talking about that for a bit, and it's come time, I think, to lay that out. I had, my others would fit in with what you're saying. I mean, I had that we have to have math, and we have to be focused on getting math up in our outcomes. For reporting, I had the grading and reporting system, not just the reporting system, but they're fairly well in line with what you're defining.
Okay. Pam, you had your hand up.
Your 3 goals overlap with my list. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tom.
I just wanted to say that I had a nice process. I've talked to Mr. Baker quite a bit, and I also talked with Dr. Haynes about the workload of goal number 1 because it's big. And really it's mapping out the work of the ISA committee, right? I mean, the grade reporting and the work on the math program. So we feel that these are the priorities. We were very sad to hear that the company that we were working with and very optimistic about, Motivis, is no longer going to be a company due to COVID. But that doesn't mean that there isn't hope. Don't worry, Tammy. We've got some ideas. We'll be in touch. Not all hope is lost. They may have other ideas. We'll keep you posted. But Patty's already all over looking at other options. Okay, so she and I talked at length today, and I just want everyone to know that relationships are really, really important, and the way we communicate to families is done through our reporting system. This is critical, and our math scores have to improve. They have to. Yeah. And so those 2 things in my mind are must-dos. I told everyone when we started the reorganization work that we would do a strategic plan once the district was reorganized. And it's definitely time to do it because that will help us all to know what the work will be over the next 5 years. So people will come to me and say, well, when are we going to deal with this problem? When are we going to deal with that problem? It's really a work plan for all of us. And it really is, in my mind, that's really the most important thing because it gives us direction as a team. So I agree 100% with all 3 goals. I don't get to vote, but I just thought you should know that, in terms of what I see through auditing the district and working with everyone, that I would agree with those goals. And so does Dr. Haynes, I think, right, Dr. Haynes? Matt?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Jim?
Yeah, Pete.
Yeah, the motion is going to be critical.
Yeah, so there's 3.
And the wording of it.
There's 3 goals, Pete. Let me put them up if I can.
No, let me give you my suggestion.
Okay.
Could we perhaps table this and then perhaps Pam and Jamie and you come up with the wording of the motion? Because I don't know if we're going to be able to, all 7 of us, come up with the wording of the motion for the three goals. You know what I mean? So I'm just wondering if this is something that, in a sense, a mini subcommittee to come up with it, and then on the 17th, come up with the wording of the motion. Because I think if we start getting into, what about this? Or I think we need that. We may get down a path we don't want to go right now.
Well, we can certainly.
It's a suggestion. What do you want to do?
We can do that if we need to. So I just put up the 3 goals on the screen. Can you guys see them, or am I just?
Yeah, I can see them.
Okay, great. So this is the wording that I'm proposing for the 3 goals, and they sound.
Fine. There's your motion right there.
Yeah, so they sound like pretty much what Jamie and Pam had in mind.
Okay, that's fine.
So at this point, if we can get a motion to approve this wording for our goals. Yep, Tammy.
That the wording on 1 is, to me, not specific enough. What is it? What do you mean by begin the implementation of math and reading programs?
Well, they have to pick a math program. They don't currently have a math program.
You do have a math program,
But we're changing it though.
Yeah, for the improvements that we've been talking about. They really want to pick a new math program, right, Tom?
Yeah, that's been the work that we've been doing all year, is preparing to choose a new math program. But you choose a program, and then you need a year for implementation and a year for planning outcomes. I mean, it's not there. It's a very complicated process because usually the first year the scores actually drop. It's an implementation dip because the teachers are learning the new program. So we have to really map that out it's a 3-year process. 1 year to choose, another year to train and implement, and then full implementation. Patty, feel free to say, is there anything I'm kind of talking for you right now?
The other thing is I think of it like a construction project, and you have to do your plan first, and you have to have a timeline for that plan, and where you're going to be along that timeline at certain points, and what you want to have accomplished along that timeline to get you to where you need to be to start implementing the math and the reading programs. So basically what this is saying is to establish that timeline plan, which we don't have now, and also mapping it to determine the actual time frames that the goals that we want these things to occur within, so that we have a roadmap to get this accomplished within a certain period of time. That's how I look at number 1. And Patty, feel free to.
No, absolutely. Because you're right. We've got to make sure we know what we're going to be doing at what point in the process. What are we expected to have? Not necessarily what program it's going to be, but during this time period, we're going to be looking at certain programs. We're going to be talking about certain things, but definitely. And Tom's absolutely right. You look at the programs, you select one, you get time to get the teachers up and trained on it, get used to it. And then by the 3rd year, you've got folks where they're sort of feeling good and you're getting your momentum going. But we've also got, other professional development going on in the background before that, but I absolutely agree with this.
So it gives us a roadmap, but the actual details will have to be worked out by the administration and ISA and different committees with Dr. Haynes and all the people that are going to have input on this. This is just a starting point.
Right. And when you're writing goals, just in general, you don't want to get too into the nitty gritty about stuff. I mean, you could set a goal to take a trip to Hawaii, but you don't necessarily know if a pandemic's going to hit and you can't go. So you don't want to be too specific about it. So I think that this is a good written goal.
I also just want to share that I'm comfortable with saying that the goal is to choose a program. And this might be what Ms. Mahoney was mentioning about specificity. It'd be fine to say establish a timeline plan and mapping to begin the implementation of reading math programs. But add that the math program should be chosen and beginning to implement in the fall of 2021. I don't want this to go on forever, right? Like we were really close this spring on a math program, so we might be able to get moving this year, choose a program, start training people in it, and really, my thought would be that we'd start it in fall of 2021. Ms. Mahoney, did that help with your? I mean, I call you. We're on video, so I'm trying to be, But Tammy, is that good for you? Is that what you meant by specificity? I wasn't sure what you meant.
Yes, that helps. I question we've been talking about math. I see reading included in there. What's the reference to reading?
Well, as soon as the reference to reading is that we have a writing program that's been adopted. As soon as the math program's adopted and implemented, we do want to take a look at our reading program. So I'm thinking that will fall in years 3 and 4. But having said that, we can talk about mapping benchmarks for reading this year because we already have a lot of information about reading and benchmarking. So we don't want to hold off on the benchmarking part, but the programming part might happen later. And that's where this goal could be a page and a half long. I could literally, write a small paper about what this goal would entail. But I think that what Jim was trying to establish was, as part of this strategic plan, I need to have a very clear guideline for the staff as to when we're going to do what. And what Dr. Haynes and I are thinking is that the math program would begin implementation in fall of 2021. You'd have a year to get that under your belt and get going with it as a teacher. And that's only really K6 or K8 because 7 through 12 is going to be happening immediately, right? We hired someone to handle that. So that person's going to start with immediate goals and targets that are separate from this plan. This is more about the core curriculum program that will happen for grades K through 8. As far as I'm concerned, 7 to 12 is an immediate emergency. We're going to be on that probably starting July 1st when the new person starts, to be honest. Pulling apart the data, looking at SAT data and all the different information. One of the issues that we're up against as a school community is that the data that we usually use didn't happen this spring. There were no federal assessments this spring. So I'm trying to help you all to know that this is a priority. We're going to take it really seriously, but we have to be careful about the structure of being too rigid because we don't know what's coming.
Exactly.
So Pam, I can only see Tammy, Patty, and Pam. So if anybody else has a comment, just shut out. But Pam, you're next.
Oh, I thought you were just ignoring me.
No, sorry. Now I can see you. Pam disappeared and now you're there. Pam, go ahead.
So what I wrote down is a little more specific. It says, as the goal for 1, select a math program with proven best practices, which will demonstrably advance student learning and create a pathway to implementation.
Fine.
Notice the best practices, demonstrably advances, and pathway. It doesn't mean we're implementing anything. We need to design and then design a pathway. So that would be my expression of the goal. But
okay, Jamie
has his hand up.
I see Jamie.
So a couple of points. One is I wouldn't have phrased it as specificity as well as Tammy did, but I was going to say what Tom ended up saying. That math program's got to go in the fall of 2021. So,
With that,
I'm all in support of that. But Jim, one of the things that when you listed this, you listed an A through E subsets of stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't pick up or be able to write down all that. Be
Well,
helpful.
I know there's a whole bunch of
Helpful
stuff,
to
and I can send that out to everybody else, to everybody. I don't have well, maybe I can pull it up. Let me get rid of this for now, or just,
yeah.
let's see. Gordon, how do I minimize this one? There should be I can't, let me try to pull it down so I can see the,
Probably that.
okay, I got it. Okay. So now I've got to go into my docs. And, oh, that's not it.
I just threw it into the chat for everybody because I had it from the email that we had been working
Oh,
through.
The email that I sent you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Would you like Patty to share?
But I don't think you have the final version though.
This was, well, I think this was what you read because when you were reading, I was going through.
Oh, it was? Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
If you could throw it up, great.
You want me to pull it up? I can do that. Yep.
Sure.
Share my screen. Oh, you're going to have to end your screen sharing, Jim, before I.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Okay. So it's right here.
Yeah, that's not the final version though, Patty.
Okay, so that's not it.
Patty, stop sharing. I've got it right here. I'll share it.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem. All right.
I think
You know, if everybody feels like we should adopt the exact language that's right here, that's certainly fine, but it's kind of wordy and long. And Gordon, how do I just click the button, right? Share screen. All right, there we go.
Is this the one I sent you today?
Yes, it is. It's the
Okay.
final one.
Okay.
Yeah. So here it is right here. Establish a timeline plan and mapping and begin implementation of math and reading programs. This will be included in the strategic plan and will include the following elements: a timeline and plan for adopting improved curriculum in math and reading, explanation of key program parameters, staffing needs and staffing readiness, define a clear program review process to identify the effectiveness or areas of improvement once the program is implemented, and the following must be included in the plan: curriculum scope and sequence, instructional professional development and support for staff, clearly defined assessment goals and outcomes, internal and external assessments, and a plan for intervention when students do not meet the expectation. So remember, when I talk to you all about the intervention positions in the reorganization, it really is almost always a four-part process that improves student achievement in a public school. One is having a clear scope and sequence of the curriculum with the correct rigor. Two is instructional professional development, which Mr. Morse at Oyster River was adamant was one of the most important things that they did, was providing professional development ongoing all the time. And then clearly defined assessment goals and then support for kids when they don't meet those goals. Remember, Mr. Morse said that the program was important, but what was really important was the helping teachers to teach better and then providing supports for kids. And he also said that putting Algebra 1 in 8th grade was really, really important. So we have some very clear steps. If folks feel like we should just adopt this goal as written, I'm certainly 100% fine with that. It just had a lot of detail.
Would rather have more detail than less.
Okay. Up to you all.
Can you see me, Jim?
Yes, Jamie.
If you're going to go with this kind of detail, I want one final line in there that says implement the math program by the fall of 2021.
Yes. Okay.
That's perfectly fine. Yeah.
Tammy, are you okay with that? All right. So I'll put that in there.
I would add, start fixing the 7 through 12 math yesterday. How's that, Jamie?
Yeah, I'm in on that one too.
Yeah, we're getting there. Really optimistic after our hiring this spring. So
Me also. Me also.
Okay, so anybody else? I can't see you, so.
I'll stop sharing. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Forgot it was me.
Okay, so anybody else want to comment on this? Larry?
I have a question. What you're saying is that you want that whole statement as the goal?
I think it could be, personally, I think it could be attached to the goals, and the goals could be 1, 2, and 3.
I agree with you on that, Jim.
Okay.
Because I think if you start going into deep detail, you're going to lose the whole purpose of the goal.
But I do think we need to add in the math program will be started the implementation on the.
Well, I agree with that too. But I don't think we should go into the detail of how the planning is going to be done. It's like you said, you're building it's a construction site, and we are constructing to make the kids better.
Yeah,
you don't need all the details.
The detail was really just my explanation of sort of the subparts. And Tom did a lot of work on this, and so did Patty.
The details are exactly what we need to do. And I just don't think we need to have all those details in the goal.
Yeah.
Because that's what we have to do. But we need a goal that everybody can understand and shoot for.
Yeah. And I think, we had that in number 3 last year. But when you break it down to what those 2 unfinished parts of number 3 really contain, it's huge. And that's where all these subparts come in.
And I think that we as administrators hear the message and agree with the message. We need a new math program for the fall of 2021.
And that's what we're trying to get out.
Right. That if you ask me my opinion from the conversation, the goal is to have a new math program rolled out and ready to go for the fall of 2021. Right. That's the real goal. The reading goal is part of the strategic plan. And I explained that to Jim earlier, but I understand what he's saying is he wants to make sure that that's getting mapped out. And we do need to map out our reading benchmarks for intervention ASAP. Right. I want that done personally. Whether that's a board goal or not, I don't really, it doesn't matter to me. I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah. I mean, one of my comments was a goal without a plan is just a wish.
Right.
So that's why we need this mapping done and these timelines established so that we get to where we want to be. And that math program is being implemented in the fall of 2021, and everything in between there is done in a timely way. And there's a lot of parts to each of this as well. I mean, you've got a lot of accountability that's built into this, so that it's not just throwing ideas at problems, but without, having a real thorough vetting of how they're supposed to work and staying on and keeping them on track.
Yep. Jim, there's an old saying, you need to have a timeline so that people are held accountable for what's happening.
Steps.
Yeah. And it's not like you can't make adjustments if you have to, but at least you have to have a basis for moving forward.
Right.
So anybody else?
I'd like to move to approve your 3 goals.
Oh, I didn't even see the third one.
Oh, the third one is the strategic plan. Let me put that back up.
Yeah. You could do that.
Yeah, if I can. Let's see. Whoops, almost had it. I've got to minimize this window. Oh, I know what I have to do. Okay. Okay, can you see that? Let me scroll down.
Yes.
Okay, there's the third one. Can you see that, Tammy?
I see that, yes. And so my question is, these goals are, we're going to measure our progress and achieving these goals sometime next year in March, April, May. Is that correct?
Yes. Well, but we're going to be requesting reports going along. That's part of the timeline, the mapping of the timeline. I mean, ISA is going to be involved in this development.
Number 3 anyway, but so if we go back to number 1, my comment again would be goals need to be measurable, attainable, we need to be able to know, we need to have a way to know whether we've met them. They need to be understandable to the public so that we can all understand whether we've met them or not. That's why I would prefer a little more detail than less detail. But I'm on number 3 now, where it just says create a 5-year strategic plan. And my impression of strategic planning is that it's time consuming, and I'm just wondering if the time frame you're talking about is enough to actually create the plan.
Yeah, it's a large part of it. A large part of it can be addressed.
That's my question.
Yeah, a large part of it can be addressed, but it's not going to be complete in 1 year.
Well, then I think we should reword the goal then.
I mean, it might be complete in 1 year. I don't, I mean, you're going to have facilities and finance and ISA all contributing to the 5-year strategic plan.
Can I just suggest that one person talk at a time?
Okay, sorry.
Done. Can I talk?
Yeah.
Okay. So my comment is that I think we should reword this to not say create a 5-year strategic plan, because that seems, I'm assuming that's not, Tom, you can chime in, but it seems unrealistic to say that we're going to have created a strategic plan in less than a year from now. So I would suggest that we reword that to say, begin the process of 5-year strategic planning, or something a little more achievable, attainable. Thank you.
Okay. I think that we can do a 5-year strategic plan as far as a basic framework and outline. And then we're going to refine it as we go on. But I think we can do a 5-year strategic plan, which will include curriculum, staffing, financing, and facilities. It's not going to have every little detail fleshed out, but it's going to have the goals fleshed out and the targets fleshed out. So that part we can do, and we'll be just like with policies. It's a living thing. It continues on. It's not something that you do it and it's never revisited or tweaked.
Tom has his hand up.
Yeah, I just didn't want to, Jim, can you see me? I don't know if you can.
I can't see you, Tom.
Okay, I just, so this, if you're asking, Tammy, I just wanted to respond to your question. I think that we can do the following three things next year, provided that there is not a massive disruption from another round of COVID. I just want to be clear that goals are goals, but we are in the middle of we're in the middle of a crisis. So we can choose a math program and get it ready to go in the fall of 2021. We can choose a new report card system and get that ready to go for the fall of 2021. And we can develop the core strategic plan to have ready to implement for the fall of 2021. Every single little detail won't be flushed out. I think we can do those 3 things as a team. Every subcommittee will have to be focused on these goals. So Jamie's point about the finance subcommittee setting goals for finances, that'd be part of the strategic plan. Facilities, part of the strategic plan, right? I just want everyone to know that really the work of the subcommittees will be the strategic plan. So for example, policy part of their strategic planning will be, we're going to set up a 5-year cycle for reviewing policies in an orderly way, right? There'll always be updates from the NHSBA, but we're going to do letters A, B, C this year, D, E, F the next year, whatever it is. Some sections are way bigger than others, but all the work really, and the English language arts piece of number 1 will fall into the strategic plan. But Jim really wanted that in there because he wanted to make sure that we're mapping that out, which is fine. I agree with that. But in my mind, all of this is under the strategic plan, except for choosing the math program and the grade reporting system, because those have to be implemented in 1 year. That's my thought. I mean, all the criteria for what we choose in a math program, that's all, everything Pam said was totally right on. You know, it's got to, she's talking about a ISA committee, and the teachers and the administrators are all going to work together to choose the criteria for the math program and then evaluate whatever we choose. And then ultimately the board has to approve it. So did that answer your question, Tammy? That's what I think we can do reasonably, as long as we have a somewhat normal year. If we have a horrible year and it's really broken up and difficult, we'll have to talk as a board and choose what. I feel like the strategic plan is critical. That really is what gives us a roadmap and the community a roadmap. But the math, from this instructional end, the math is absolutely critical. We have to get going on that. So I think that the grade reporting system is important, but really to me, the teaching and learning is the most important thing. And the strategic plan facilitates that, along with choosing a math plan. It's so complicated, but my advice to you as a board would be to adopt these 3 goals as written, and we'll work on the details together. We're a team. It's going to be fine, right? But I know that if I don't say this, Jamie's going to call me later. No, I'm just kidding, Jamie. We have to have a math program for fall of 2021. And I'm not even touching that with a 10-foot pole. But the strategic plan to me is the message to the community that we're all working together.
Jim, I don't know if you can see me. I got that in my hand.
No, I can't. You have to shout out.
So make a couple of comments here. I tend to agree with both sets of statements. I'm okay, and I'd like to have the strategic plan in there. I think Tammy is right. We're not going to complete a full, robust strategic plan in a year, but it will be a core strategic plan that we can work from and build off from. So the main trunks will be there, and we're going to have to build out some branches as we go forward on an annualized basis and start filling it out more. But I would rather have a stretch goal that we fall short on than have a shortened goal, because my experience is the higher the goal that you're striving for, the farther you achieve, even if you don't quite get that goal.
Yep.
As opposed to a lower goal where you set the bar lower and you're not striving as hard and you don't quite get where you could have got otherwise. So I would tend to think that we'd leave it as a strategic plan and strive for the gold standard, and knowing that short of the gold standard is still better than shooting for the copper or bronze, I guess it'd be.
Jim?
Yeah, Larry, go ahead.
I agree with Jamie and what everybody is saying. I do agree that a core goal is worth more than no goal at all. And we can build out on them as we need. And I'm going to go one step further. We've already had a motion. I'm going to second that motion from Pam. So now we have a motion on the floor.
Okay. Tammy, I took one word from what Jamie said, and I changed it from create a 5-year strategic plan to a core 5-year strategic plan. Does that?
You do that, and I think that I would be comfortable with that.
Okay. Anybody else? I can't see you, so you'll have to shout out. All right, I guess we're ready for a vote. So I can't leave this up and see you.
No, can you close your share, Jim?
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. So we have a motion. We have a second. So I'm going to start with people as I see them. Tammy?
Yes.
Okay. Dawn?
Yes.
Jamie?
Aye.
Pam?
Aye.
Pete,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. Okay, so we got that.
Brian's record is standing high.
No chance tonight.
Blow him out of the water to begin with.
We'll just have to have another meeting with a 2-minute agenda to beat his record. Okay, so use of the science building on Seminary property, Matt.
Yeah, we received a request from the Rockingham County Sheriff's Office, and they'd like to use the science building for tactical training with, let's see, the Air Force pararescue operators. And this is going to occur on July 13th, 14th, and 15th. Currently, I've received approval from Chimberg Properties. Since we signed the purchase and sale agreement, I need to include them as well. Their only question that they had was whether Rockingham County would provide a certificate of insurance, and they have. So, any and all activity that would go on in there is covered by the county insurance.
Pete.
Yeah, this training has been going on for many, many years. The Sheriff's Department, Kingston Police have been doing this, gosh, I bet it's been almost since the school closed. So this is not something that's not a normal request. It's a normal request, and they do some very, very good work. And there aren't too many places where you can get a building that you're unknown and you go in and try to extract people or go room to room or whatever. So I would strongly recommend it.
And I
Anybody
just
else?
wanted people to know that I'm only bringing it to the board because we're under contract with Chinberg. Normally, I just approve these, and I have for all 3 years.
Okay. Jamie?
I'm all in.
Okay.
Pete.
Anybody else? The only question I have is there's no expiration date on this approval.
It's only
1 year. I mean, they do.
It doesn't say that, though. It needs to say that.
Sure, you can just put that in the motion.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just on that one day, right, Matt?
yes, for July 13th, 14th, and the 15th.
Right, right.
So we can just
That would be your time limit, the 13th, 14th, 15th. That's when they're going to use it. That's when we're going to approve it. We're not approving it for anything beyond that.
Okay, so can I get a motion including that amendment to approve?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we allow the Sheriff's Department, U.S. Air Force, and the Kingston Police Department to use the science building for their proposed training on the July 13th, 14th, and 15th.
Okay, and second?
Second.
And all in favor, Tammy
Yes.
and Dawn,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Pam,
Aye.
Pete,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yep. Next one is the electronic sign at the high school, Tom.
Yeah, I just wanted to let everyone know that I put this on the board agenda because the seminary trustees asked me to. They would like to purchase an electronic board for the high school, and we had to go about this one of two ways. There's currently an ordinance in the town of Kingston where you can't have electronic signs. So before I brought it to the selectmen to ask them for an exception, I wanted to know if the board would support purchasing an electronic sign of this type. Since then, I've spoken with Mr. Broderick, and I think he has some feelings to share about that. So I'll turn it over to him and Mr. Stack.
Okay, Pete.
Yeah, that is a violation of our ordinance. You would have to go to ZBA and try to get a variance. And I'll tell you, even the town library tried to get an electronic sign and it was shot down. So I based on the past history, you never know what ZBA is going to do, but if they wouldn't let the library have one, we had a sign store in town and there was some issues there that we finally resolved. So I would say we're probably wasting a lot of time if we approve this, because past history, ZBA has said, no, our own library couldn't get one.
And I want the board to know that I'm fine with the will of the board on this. It's not it was the seminary trustees would like to offer to pursue this. It's a major modification to the high school. It would put a big board out front where the current one is, and it would change automatically, which is very convenient. Having said that, whether or not it's a need or worth going through the process of petitioning everyone to get one, I'm not sure. And I'm really just asking you your opinion, and I'm fine with I'm not making a recommendation that you approve this. I'm asking you what your opinion is as a group.
Jamie.
Brian,
Jamie?
Yeah, I'm just still curious as to what is the intent. So the trustees want to sign, and then who is funding it? Is the trustees volunteering to pay for it, or?
Yeah, they donate a tremendous amount of money to the school annually, yes.
Brian?
Yeah, so trustees still would have to vote on this. So right now, this is just a proposal that they have. They didn't want to pursue it any further if it wasn't something that the school board was interested in. So they brought it to me first. And of course, I mean, there's definitely some merit and a lot of value in having such a thing. You know, there's a lot of high schools in our area that have something like that. So a lot of research, a lot of homework. They came up with a really good cost-effective proposal, and they came out to the school and they talked with us about it. So they've done about as much homework as they can do before other groups kind of weigh in on what their preference is. They would be, I think, voting to cover the cost. I mean, they would have to do this, but I think they would be voting to cover the cost of the sign. But there would be another X factor of getting electricity out to where the sign would be located. And it's not an easy answer to decide what that would cost, because we would, I mean, quite honestly, to have somebody even give us a quote for that, they'd have to spend a considerable amount of time doing that just to get to that point. So again, we didn't want to ask anyone to put in that kind of time if it wasn't something that folks were supportive of. Could we possibly?
Dawn?
Oh, sorry.
That's
I
all
didn't
right.
raise my hand.
That's okay. If Tom wants to go first, that's fine.
Okay, Tom?
I'm sorry. Is there a possibility, Brian, that we could table this for another year just until we get all the dust settled from everything else? And maybe I mean, it's a really great idea, and it'd be nice to have a sign that could be changed automatically from a computer instead of having to go out and manually change letters. But I'm just wondering if it's kind of too much with everything we have on our plates right now with the reorganization and everything. Do you think the trustees would be willing to push it out 1 year?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they'd be opposed to anything. I think, again, they don't want to invest people's time and energy if it's not something that people want to do. So if it's something that folks are interested in, but just not right now, that's helpful information for them too.
Dawn?
I was just gonna put in my 2 cents worth with my experience with the town, kind of to follow with what Mr. Broderick said. And Kingston is extremely set on their sign rules and regulations, and they seldom make exceptions to the rules. So, you know, if it's something somebody wanted to look into, that's fine, but it could be a very long process, and I don't know if we will get the result we're looking for. The town doesn't typically make exceptions on that. So just my experience.
I would like to add that, you know, the trustees have certainly been generous with donations to the schools. And I'm just wondering how high a priority this is, and if there wouldn't be other ways that they could use that money that would be, a better use for the students themselves, to benefit the students. So that's only my only thought about it.
I would have to turn that over to Brian and ask him what he thinks about that.
Yeah, and they actually have not discussed this formally at a large meeting. So
Okay.
they only meet once a year. We're not slated to meet again until this summer, and that may get delayed because of the pandemic restrictions. So, you know, again, they had a small group kind of researching it so that if there was interest, they would have a larger discussion when they meet in August. The other thing I will point out, the one question I did ask when we had the vendor on site is I wanted to make sure if we were going to pursue something like this, one of my number one priorities was being a good neighbor, because I wanted to make sure if I'm living across the street from that, I don't
Exactly what I was going to
sign
say.
it. Correct. So I was shown that with their product, we would have the ability to actually go to a black screen and set that, you know, so that whatever time we deem that sign gets shut off, it gets shut off for the night.
And hopefully nothing would go on the blinks, so it'd be blinking all night long.
Right.
I was going to try to rent it to watch a good movie.
Yeah.
Right. Jamie.
Just one concern would be something at the level that I think we're talking about. It's not high up in the air. It's kind of at the entryway. Is that risk of vandalism?
You always do run that risk. Yes, it actually wouldn't be at the entryway. We determined with the chief that actually would be more of a distraction for cars coming in and out. It actually would be located back where there is a letter sign that's on the property right now that was a class gift probably in the 08, 07, 09, one of those years, if my memory serves me right. That's the last time this came up as a discussion. And when the sign didn't go through then, the senior class actually donated that letter sign so that there could be something there so the school could advertise some announcements.
Anybody else? Comments? So the sense I'm getting is, first of all, there's a lot of hurdles that would have to be met for this to be a reality in terms of the town approvals. And I don't sense enough enthusiasm on our part to want to put them through that. So I would suggest that until some point in time where this becomes a priority for us, that we thank them and ask them to think of something else, or just we appreciate all their help and we're just going to pass on this one. How do other people feel? Larry.
I would say that's probably the best idea right now. We just sit back and wait and let the dust settle.
Okay. Anybody else?
That's fine with us.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like they came up with an idea. They wanted to run it by us just to see how much interest there would be. And so there's not a lot, and thank you.
All right.
Okay.
So, Mr. Stack, will you let the trustees know that the
We'll
board
do
discussed
that.
and decided
Yes.
to hold off?
Yep, I will.
Thanks very much, Brian.
Yeah. And thanks to the trustees. They're amazing.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So much for us. We adore them. They're great. And this was a really good idea they just wanted me to bring it to you to see if you all really wanted this. And I think you're right, Jim, that holding off right now is probably not a bad idea. There's a lot cooking on the burners right now for the district.
Yeah, and for the public who's watching who may not be aware, I mean, the trustees, they give to the tune of $30,000 a year directly to programs that support the high school students. It has to be, there's qualifications, but it's some pretty innovative programs. It's amazing.
It's great.
Yeah, some have been presented at the board that they're very good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Disposal of surplus school property. Matt.
Okay, so I'll try to make this quick. Basically, there's a school district policy, which is DN. It authorizes the business administrator to dispose of surplus items according to different categories. Basically, I have to be able to first reallocate the items within the district. I can store them for future use. Allocate them within the district. I can sell them to the highest bidder. I can dispose of items less than $1,000 in the best interest of the district, and to charitable organizations and other schools. I can give them to local citizens, first come, first served basis, with 2 weeks prior notice, and then finally dispose of local landfill or recycling facility. Okay. you know, even though the policy gives me the authority to go and dispose of property, with the sale of the seminary property and the closure of the old middle school, I want to give the school board the opportunity to say yay or nay on this, because it's a lot of material. So what I'd like to do is do a quick screen share. So I have some pictures of some of the spaces. So this is a basement underneath Swayze Gym, and it's full of desks and chairs from Bakey. And then this is another angle of that space. This is another angle of that space. And then this is this is right off the gym at Swayze Gym. And these chairs right here, these are chairs that I want to save and store for later. But then there are chairs like this red chair at the bottom of the screen that needs to be disposed of. And then there are TVs and old monitors. But these are chairs that were purchased with when the high school was built brand new. Again, this is another angle of the chairs that were built with purchased with the new high school, but interdispersed in here are desks from Bakey Elementary. And then if I go down, we have old football equipment that is timed out, that is no longer safe to use. Those need to be disposed of. This is in the cafeteria of the science building. So this is one angle. This is just all stand-up file. These are all empty. If you move around, there's desks down. I'm sorry, chairs down there. There are desks down here. These are adult-sized desks. This is more furniture that's in the seminary building. This is another angle of that same room. This is one of the classrooms in the science building. These are drafting tables.
And some of those items came from Chief Briggs and the donations that have occurred to the district. They've been stored there, and now that we're in the process of selling the building, they need to be addressed. I just want to be clear for the public that these aren't just all things that came from Sanborn.
Okay. I also have some educational materials, and a lot of this stuff is so timed out. It shows the Soviet Union as a current country.
Buy those.
Huh?
The Russians will buy those.
Yeah. Yeah. We have quite a bit of technology equipment that is timed out that needs to be disposed of. Now, this is all surplus books and just stuff that did not make it to the move at the middle school that we need to dispose of. Oh, this is another angle of the room that's underneath Swayze Gym. And that's it. So again, I have the authority to dispose of all. I'd rather have the approval of the school board. And let me tell you how I am planning on disposing of the property. So first thing I want to do is I want to reallocate items within the district. There's a few classrooms that I need to fill out, and also we still retain a certain portion of the old middle school, and I want to set up most of that as like classroom space that we can rent out, so that we can have like continuing education in the evening, or we can have like senior functions in there. And this is a temporary spot until such time as administration determines or comes up with a better alternative for that space. The second one is there are other items in there, such as the furniture that we purchased with the new high school. That stuff I want to save, and I want to store it in the portables at the old middle school. There are other items that I'd like to give to local nonprofits and charities, such as some of those adult-sized desks. And also there's some surplus computer equipment that I'd like to give to some, and I'm talking about like older computer equipment. For example, I believe we have several servers that they're not being used right now. That is old equipment. Let's see, and then I'd like to have the local citizens have the opportunity to take stuff. We could easily have like a yard sale on the seminary lawn and dispose of stuff. And then the remainder, I'd like to recycle, salvage, dispose of through trash means.
So when Matt says yard sale, he means free, come and get it. Folks in the community, the school district's not going to use it. If you'd like it, you can take it, which is not uncommon. A lot of districts do that type of thing when we're cleaning out. I mean, what Matt has discovered now that he's getting more comfortable in his role at Sanborn is that there is a tremendous, I mean, those pictures don't do it justice. I've walked through those rooms. There is a tremendous amount of surplus items that we have no use for and that need to go in the seminary, the Swayze gym, and even in some of the other buildings. There are a number of items that do have value, such as newer classroom desks that we're going to store at the middle school so that when the high school wears out their furniture in 4 or 5 years, we can go get a few desks and bring them over to the high school, right? So that's going to save us money in the end. But anything that isn't reusable or recyclable, we really need to get rid of. And we're just asking for your permission to A, give it to the community and then dispose of it.
Pam,
You talked to Rock, the youth organization, to see if they have any furniture needs.
That's a great idea. We should do that. We haven't done that yet.
Yeah, we haven't done
Like
that.
some of those bookcases.
Jamie,
Yeah, so my thoughts, I'd be a little concerned for a couple of reasons with just saying first come, first serve. So you put it out there and the people that have the ability to get up early in the morning and get it, you get what they want, others don't get it. Two is in a COVID scenario, you could be starting a rush. Oh, a lot of free stuff. You know, you're gonna have a whole bunch of people gathering to try and pick that up and you could have some issues there. If you picked a weekend or a time frame where there was no weather coming, you could put out a chair and say there's about 50 of these. You could a cabinet and say there's about 30 of these, and just say leave your bids, and then take the money that comes in from that. It's not going to be a lot of money. It's not like it's going to change budgets or whatever, and dedicate that to some type of a student fund.
That's coming up on the agenda. Good idea.
anybody else? Okay, so we needed a motion, or is this just a consent kind of a thing where we can give a thumbs up?
Jim, I'd say just a thumbs up because
Okay.
we got a procedure that already covers it.
Right. Tom?
I just wanted to mention that it's important for everyone to note that part of the reason why there's such a surplus is that Chief Briggs has done a phenomenal job of getting us furniture for the district. And those items that are left over are really nice. They're not, they can go to someone, but part of the reason why we have such an excess of furniture is because of the generosity of Mr. Briggs and the former Sanborn student that donates a lot of those items. Mr. Stack, can you, I don't know his name. I don't know him.
You want his name?
Gordon, can you unmute Brian?
Brian's muted.
Brian Denver.
Brian Denver. So I just wanted to publicly thank, Mr. Denver.
And if people aren't aware how the chief comes about it, he actually supplies a lot of this around the state. So he works with an organization that goes into defunct companies to just, get rid of furniture that they can't use anymore. And it's basically donated to nonprofits and government organizations. So we'll get a call saying, listen, there's a whole bunch of things. Do you want it? We take delivery of a lot of things, not knowing what exactly is going to show up, having seen some pictures. And then we put a lot of that furniture into offices and classrooms. I mean, Tom is right. We've probably we're talking tens of thousands, if not maybe $100,000 worth of furniture over the last 5 years. From Chief, it's incredible. incredible. And a lot of this is either the stuff we can't use or stuff that's come out and replaced with better stuff. So
Matt, given the plan that you outlined, you would be removing the things that you think we can use and putting them in the middle school before you would be inviting people in to take their pick of whatever's left.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have to. Okay, what the plan is once the middle school is done with the move, I have 3 extra employees that I can swing towards this particular project, and I think it will take about 3 weeks to sort through a mountain of furniture, and then we're going to try to sort it out and bring it out to the different schools who want additional furniture, and then I can bring in a lot of the local nonprofits and make sure that they're supplied as well. And then I can take Jamie's advice and put out a list of, hey, this is for sale. But I do want to make sure the board understands. I do want to try to get the seminary property cleaned out as quick as possible, because I want to make this property close as soon as possible.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, so does anybody have a problem with this proposal? Okay, so I think Larry's right. We can just do a thumbs up on this.
Okay, thank you.
I'm good.
Okay. The surplus vehicle from the town of Newton, Matt.
Yeah, so the town of Newton has offered to give us a Ford Explorer. And what I'd like to do is accept that Ford Explorer, but I also want to take 2 of our vehicles offline. Currently, we have a Dodge Caravan and a Ford Windstar. I believe one of them has about 180,000 miles, and the other one is, 280,000 miles, and the other one has over 320,000 miles. So
should be an ad.
The joke that I've been telling people is it would be a great Kingston Day vehicle to burn. So
okay.
So the Ford Explorer would be excellent, and what we want to use it for is the maintenance person who's going to go between the 2 elementary schools, and they cart around their tools and also move materials with that vehicle.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, Matt, do you know the year and the mileage on the Ford?
I believe it's a 2004, and I know Don reached out to.
It's got around 150,000 miles. I reached out to the chief because I had some questions about it myself, and he said not to quote him, but from what he recalls, it's around 150,000 miles. So it's half the mileage of what we have on our other vehicles now.
And you felt that most of the work could be done by students in the auto section?
Yeah, so it currently needs brakes and some body work. And this is excellent stuff for students to work on.
All right, so can I get a motion to, Jamie?
I was just gonna, you mentioned the shop. I was thinking the same thing. Rather than burn those other ones, that'd be a good thing to tear apart, rebuild for students and the ones that are 300,000 miles. It's a good learning a process for them.
I can definitely let the students take them apart. I just don't want to register them anymore.
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
All right, so can I get a motion to accept this donation?
So moved.
And dispose of the 2 vehicles. Well, never mind.
Yep.
So moved both.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, starting with Tammy?
Yes, and can I just thank you to the town of Newton?
Oh, for sure.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. I'll second that. Dawn?
Yes.
Jamie?
Aye.
Pete?
Yes.
And Larry?
Yes.
Pam?
Aye.
Okay, and myself is an aye. All right, you know what? Brian, you're just hanging around for the school lunch thing, right?
Oh yeah, you want to get that done?
Yeah. Why don't we jump to that?
Thanks. Thank you. I love that.
Sorry, I didn't think of it earlier.
That's all right. Don't worry about it. I've been weighing in on other stuff.
Okay.
Back with my opinions. It's actually Matt. I'm just here to support Matt.
Okay, so there's two pieces to this. Do you want to do the lunch balances first, or do you want to do that trust fund? Why don't we just do the lunch balances first? So with COVID-19, what we're seeing is that some of the families are having difficulties paying off the student school lunch balances at year end. And to give you an idea of what's outstanding for accounts receivable right now, well, as of June 2nd, there is total district-wide $13,966 that's owed by students and their families. Since this time, Brian has collected additional funds from parents so that the students can graduate. So the number is going to be lower. So what I hope is that the school board authorize the school district to write off up to $2,975, knowing it's going to be a lower amount of senior school lunch balances.
And Brian, what's the amount that you really think you're at this point?
Well, I think I'm really at about 12 or 1,300, but of that 12 or 1,300, I have 3 families in particular who have reached out to me with hardship issues, and their total is about 780 something, 782 something. Let's call it $800. It's a little less than that.
Okay.
I'm expecting I may get 1 or 2 more. You do have a board policy for new board members who aren't aware. I don't remember the policy number, but you do have a board policy that says that students have to clear up all their financial obligations owed to the district before we can close out all their final transcripts and whatnot. So that's where this request is coming from, that you make a consideration to waive part of that given the circumstances.
Right. Essentially what Brian's saying is if we don't waive it, some kids can't march Friday.
Yeah. Last week, we collected thousands of dollars in things that were owed to us, thousands of dollars and quite a bit of equipment, which if the equipment wasn't turned in would equate to more money on top of that. So my staff did a tremendous job and the kids were fantastic about doing what they needed to do.
Any discussion on this? All right, so if I can get a motion to waive the $2,975 owed on meal assistance programs.
Can I just say up to?
Sure, Tom.
To be much lower.
Up to? Okay.
Up to.
I expect it to be a lot lower.
Okay. Can I get a motion on that?
So moved.
Okay, in a second.
Second.
All right. All in favor, Tammy
Yes.
and Dawn?
Yes.
Pete?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Pam?
Aye.
Jamie?
Yeah, you didn't see my hand before.
Oh, sorry.
So just before I make my vote, I'll make my comment.
Yep.
I generally speaking don't like waiving of debt. It's not generally appropriate and it encourages behavior that you don't want to encourage. COVID has blown some things up here. It's put people in a bad way. Brian has validated these particular situations and therefore I will also vote aye.
All right. And it's a yes for me as well.
Thank you.
Okay, so
All right,
So-
let me do the next one.
okay, go ahead.
Okay, so
I'll
here-
stay on for that in case you have a question.
Okay, so this is part 2 of the school lunch balances. So we've been approached by our school food service company to set up a trust fund to receive donations to pay for students who can't otherwise afford school lunch. And what we're going to be doing with this is, of course, the school board has to accept this trust. And once it's set up, I'm going to make a personal employee deduction that's going to come out of my paycheck to go into this fund to help fund this.
Me too.
And we're going to make it open it up to employees and whoever else wants to donate money to this fund. And this is just going to pay for students' school lunches.
All right. Can I get a motion to approve the setting up of a food service trust fund?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Tammy,
Yes.
Dawn,
Yes.
Pete,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Pam,
Aye.
Jamie,
Aye.
and also yes for me.
Thank you.
Good idea, whoever came up with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was Mr.
Agreed.
Scott's.
It was a joint effort. I just worked through the parameters of how we would do it if we were going to do it. So thank you.
Thank you.
This will benefit students
You're
district-wide, not
excused.
just the high school.
Yep.
It definitely will. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
Hi, Brian, thank you.
Okay, financial system approval, Matt.
Okay, so I'm going to try to make this one quick as well. Our current financial system is at end of life. If we were to go out and try to get a new system, it's going to cost about $300,000. If we stay with our current vendor, they have an evergreen in their policies, which means that we can roll over to their new system without purchasing any of the modules that we currently own. However, we are anticipating buying other modules to fill out the system. The total cost of the system, this includes one-time fees and annual fees, is $86,670. Of the one-time fees, there's licensing fees of $17,323 and implementation costs of $58,980. Implementation costs include data conversion, project management, and training on the new system. Now, the recurring costs of $10,373 is really broken out into two parts. The first is $2,864 for annual maintenance, and the remainder is just over $7,000 is for a hosting fee. Now, with the new system, we wouldn't actually be maintaining or holding the accounting system locally. It'd be held by the and so our IT company, our IT department wouldn't be managing the server. Now,
There's a savings there, right, Matt?
yeah, I was going to jump into that next.
Okay.
With this recurring fee, the recurring fee for the new system is actually less expensive than the current annual maintenance that we pay on our current system. And it ends up saving the district about $6,585 a year. And the return on investments only is 11.6 years. So it's really, we're not doing this because of investment. It's because the system is at end of life. There are certain functions that I can't do. For example, I can't pay for vendors by ACH. I'd like to try to eliminate cutting checks and just pay them electronically. That's just one example. Now, there are two ways to fund this. The first way is through our general fund appropriation, because I anticipate we're going to have surplus appropriation at year end. And I ran like the tax effect of this. If we ran it through the appropriation, it ends up being 6 cents to Kingston and 8 cents to Newton. The other funding mechanism is the facilities use revolving fund. And this is a fund that where we charge our facility or charge fees for use of our facilities. This revolving fund allows us to buy technology such as the accounting software, and it has no tax impact. So I'm recommending funding the accounting system out of the facility use revolving fund. And I think I pretty much covered it all.
Hey, Jamie, there was a motion from finance. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so finance has reviewed this a few times, and Matt has provided us information. We've gone back and forth on specifications, et cetera. And the motion that was approved unanimously was to recommend to the board to approve this expenditure and to go with Matt's recommendation and to approve the use of the revolving fund to fund the purchase. But we recommend to the board, the finance committee recommends to the board unanimously that we proceed with this as defined.
Does anyone else have any comments or questions? All right. So I'd like a motion to approve the purchase of the software system.
I'll make a motion to approve the software system with the funding to come from the revolving use fund.
I'm going to amend that to say financial software system.
That works.
Okay.
Second.
All right. All in favor, Tammy,
Yes.
Dawn,
Yes.
Pete,
Yes.
Pam,
Aye.
Larry,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
and yes for me also.
Thank you.
So we've got policies left, I think, Pam.
Woo, the fun part.
So the fun never stops, I know. So we've got two policies tonight. Mr. Angel contacted me to say that we need two policies approved immediately due to a recent audit by the New Hampshire Department of Education. Apparently, one of them needs updating. It does not comply with federal law. And the other one is a new policy, which is required, and we currently lack the policy. So GBEC, drug-free workplace policy, is the one that needs updating, and GADA, employment references and verification, is a new policy which helps to prohibit aiding and abetting of sexual abuse. So I'll just offer the motion. I move that we approve with first and second read the NHSBA's sample of revised policy GBEC and new policy GADA.
Second.
Okay, any discussion or questions?
We did discuss these policies in our meeting today in policy, and we had some great questions come up, but apparently any attempt to modify the policies is really not feasible since, first of all, the regulations that oversee these policies dictate the language of the policies. And second of all, we were overthinking our criticisms. So we do recommend that these be approved.
Right.
We would like to strike the section on the syringe services program from, which one was it?
GBEC.
GBEC, since we do not participate in such a program. So we'll delete that section.
So is that within the realm of what we can do? We can delete that?
Yes, we do not. It was an optional section anyway.
Okay. All right, so can I get a motion to approve these policies with the deleting of the syringe portion?
So moved.
Yeah, made. Okay, second.
Okay. Oh, we already had the motion. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but that's with the deletion now.
Yeah, right. Yes. All right.
Yes, amended.
Yeah. Okay, Tammy
Yes.
and Dawn. Dawn,
Yes.
Pete,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Pam,
Aye.
Jamie,
Aye.
yes for me. Everybody keeps moving around, so I got to keep searching you out. Okay, so the motion passes.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And Matt, I want to thank you for all the hard work on that financial software system, and
Yeah.
also the financial committee for the work that they did as well.
Yes, thank you.
Tim, can I?
Yeah, Tom.
I think we made an error and I just don't know what to do. So I thought I'd just ask and
Okay.
figure it out. We need to talk about the computers because they need to place that order and it's not on the agenda, but I think we really have to do that.
Okay.
because we can't wait 2 more weeks with the way that the ordering's backed up.
Yep.
So I'm asking that the board be willing to do a very rare exception and amend the agenda and add 1 item discussion of staff and student computers. And this is due to the COVID-19 crisis. We need to order the computers or we're not going to get any.
Okay, does anybody have any objection to that? Jamie?
No, not an objection. I was going to say that's one of the items that I had mentioned at the beginning on the finance thing. So I didn't anticipate that it was on there. And
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we just had a mishap.
Yep.
So Matt, can you give us a summary of that? And Jamie, maybe you could weigh in too.
Okay, so this is really one of Gordon's projects. So basically, the way that I understand it is we have a lot of staff laptops that are aging. Some of them go back to 2013, and with COVID-19, some of the teachers actually went home to go and teach, and they didn't have cameras on their computers. So we need to start rolling over our computer to more modern computers. And we believe that overall we need just over 200 computers. We're only asking, I believe, for a purchase of 180 or 185 computers.
85.
Yeah. And what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to keep this within the funding of COVID-19, the CARES Act, which we're going to get allocations about $117,000. And so really it's just an authorization to spend up to a certain amount or authorization to spend the maximum amount that we can under the CARES Act grant.
And then there was also a component of the process by which we need a permission from the board to place an order for computers for students for grades 7 through 9, but it'll be paid for out of next year's budget. So we will use the student computer allocation of next year's budget for that, because the students are going to need Chromebooks at the high school. And just to be clear, we're asking for approval to utilize the CARES fund to purchase computers. And if the stipulations on the CARES fund make it so that it's better to purchase the student computers, that money will be applied where it's allowed to be applied based on the federal guidelines. And then we'll use the appropriate local money to cover as well. And I do believe that the Finance Committee authorized a transfer amount from the Facilities Use Revolving Fund at the last meeting.
It was a line item transfer from another.
Line item transfer.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that everyone understands that our goal is to do this without impacting the taxpayers in the 1920 budget cycle. We are not taking this money from the year end. We are using the money from the CARES Act and next year's school budget starting July 1st to cover our technology needs, but we need to order them now. Did I get it right, Matt? I'm kind of, okay. Yeah.
Jamie?
So again, I mentioned at the beginning that the Finance Committee has had a number of talks about this. We've talked about specifications, what is needed, how it's needed. Gordon's done some nice work in going back and driving it down, the overall cost of the program. We also took a look at valuation and insurance and paying service contracts or self-insuring. Gordon reviewed that and came to the conclusion that we would be better off not doing that and applying those savings basically to catch up to it. Just to give people some idea, the ones that we want to replace are laptops that range from 6 to 7 years old. So they are old laptops. Anybody that has a laptop at home, once you get to the 6 to 7 year olds, they're not overly functional, particularly as the upgrades of software happen and start chewing up more and more of your memory. So there was a unanimous recommendation to the board to approve these with the caveats that Tom just mentioned in terms of the monies coming out of the actual FY21 budgets. But the authorization to purchase needs to happen now.
Okay. So I'd like a motion to purchase the computers, the 185 computers, and how many Chromebooks? Or the Chromebooks are already approved.
We already approved those, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So 185 computers, the funding coming out of the CARE Act or next year's technology budget.
So moved.
Friendly adjustment, laptops as opposed to computers.
Laptops, thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. And all in favor, starting with Tammy,
Yes.
Dawn,
Yes.
Pete,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Pam,
Aye.
and I'm a yes. Okay, let's see. So I guess we're on to superintendent's authorization to hire.
Yeah, I asked for this at this meeting because it's normally when I do, but also if between now and the next school board meeting, because we are going to have a meeting at the end of June. So normally we have a meeting the first week of June and then the week, the couple of weeks before school starts. This year we need to meet. We may even need to meet in July with everything going on. I don't know yet, but I would say at the very least we'll be meeting the first couple of weeks of August based on the work groups and feedback that I need from you all. And, I'll keep you posted, but I would say certainly that this is going to be an unusual year. And in light of the situation, I'm asking if we have an employee that we need to hire over the next 2 weeks, we're getting tight on hiring time and we're doing really well, but I can think of one position. Memorial needs a teacher for ELA, and we did not yield a candidate that we were comfortable with this last week. I'm asking for your permission to just move forward and hire them. And if we have a meeting at the end of June, I'll just report out as I usually do, but I just need to move forward. I don't want to lose candidates is all I'm saying.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second?
Second.
All right. All in favor, Tammy,
Yes.
Dawn,
Yes.
Pete,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Pam,
Aye.
Jamie,
Aye.
and yes for me.
Thank you.
Summer calendar, Tom.
I kind of covered it already, just letting you all know that we may have we may need some additional meetings, and I will do my best to keep you posted and to keep them on Wednesday nights.
Okay.
So just recognize that if you can kind of loosely keep Wednesday nights available, please do. Again, I'm not anticipating a major emergency, but who knows? It's important for everyone to know that, flexibility is king right now.
Matt, do you have anything on medical supplies?
There's really no change in medical supplies other than that we're able to medical supplies from the state, and I'm going to have to probably update my order from them. I do have to say that medical supplies are now becoming easier to obtain, and everything seems to be stable.
I noticed that Hannaford's even had toilet paper last week.
But, we have 7 pallets of toilet paper in the high school. So.
Yeah. Okay. I imagine there's going to be a lot of tag sales later in the
Yeah.
summer.
Yeah.
Futures on toilet paper
Right.
are going down.
Yep. Any other business?
Yes, I had one last quick thing I wanted to say
Okay.
before we wrap up, but we don't need a non-public. But I did want to mention to everyone that, certainly the time that we face as a country right now is very challenging. And the things that have been going on in our country are really, really hard. And I just want to say before we close the meeting this evening that to our communities, Fremont, Newton, and Kingston, that our school counselors and administrators are available should any students need support or want to talk. We've had a pretty challenging week with some student behaviors, and although we don't condone the behaviors that the students have displayed, we do recognize that being sensitive to one another's needs right now is critical. And our phone lines, emails, and I'd say doors, but virtual doors are open, and we will meet with you, myself included. We're all here for our community. And if anyone needs help or support, we just want you to know to please reach out to us.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so if you have any next meeting requests, if you could send those to myself and Tom over the next week.
Yeah, I wanted to request that the meeting's 14.9 minutes.
All right. Okay.
You got to beat Stack. I can't take it. We're kind of competitive.
Well, we could start one, stop it, and then start another one. Okay. So the next Sanborn Regional School Board meeting will be held via remote connection on Wednesday, June 17th, 2020. Please visit the SAU17.net website for the links to participate. Did you say we don't need a non-public?
No non-public tonight.
Okay, great.
Done.
All right, that's it.
Remember
you,
that when I
everyone.
call one that has 19 items.
What's that?
I said, remember that when I call one that has 19 items.
Yeah, you're right. Well, thank you, everyone.
Have a great night, everyone. Nice to
Yeah.
see you all.
Thanks, all.
You.